So I thought I'd start in here with a little shot of my cute cat Xander. There's his sister Xena, having a little nap. Today I'm going to take you on a little journey to what we're planning to do to fix the problems in our garden. You can kind of see an overview from up here where we staked out bamboo and string last night, but I'll go down there and explain it better. In the meantime, I'm going to take you down, show you my Dutch micro clover lawn that we planted this spring, because this is what I want to use for my pathways through that garden. And I just think it's so lush and so green. And I was walking all over it this morning and you can't even tell. It bounces back beautifully when you walk on it. So we'll go down and I'll talk about this other garden first, because I'm going to be making some changes in there as well. As you can see, there's still a lot of buttercups in there, even though Brent has spent a lot of time digging them out. So this year we put down these pavers. First problem, sorry, my door's creaking. The first problem is they're too far apart. It's hard to walk on them. So I want to move them closer. The dream is to have all flowers and flowering shrubs along here. Right now we've got a couple lupins, an acanthus. This is a wallflower. That's a speedwell. No, what is that? Salvia. Sage salvia, compact deep blue. And there's just an annual snapdragon there. That's an azalea bush. I planted some cosmos seeds in here, in amongst the weeds. I planted some, what was it called again? Nasturtiums, those are red ones. There's some more. I also planted a bunch of hollyhocks, which I think the slugs got. But anyway, here's our cute little birdhouse. When you come down this way, as you can see, the paving stones are really far apart. And our two maple trees are getting completely suffocated by buttercups and wild geranium. So I want to remove all of that all the way down, plus around our magnolia tree and our lilac at the end. And I want to put in cardboard to kill all of that over the winter. And then the plan is to put down some soil in the spring and plant that clover again. And then we'll extend these paving stones to the end. There's another lilac at the end that's done blooming. This is a Norway red maple, by the way. And then I've got a little corner of lavender. Someone gave me some dahlia bulbs. Not a single one has come up yet. So my first time trying dahlia. I don't know. They were free, so if they fail, they fail. I also planted hollyhocks in here. Actually, that one's still alive. There's one there. It's one there. I think there's kind of a chewed up one in there too. So I'm gonna get a couple hollyhocks. We shall see. Anyway, let's get to the real problematic garden. Well, before we get there, This is a camellia tree that we bought. The dream is that it'll get big enough it'll hide those trash cans. But man, it is not happy right now. The leaves are yellowing. There's lots of, I don't know if that's slug damage or what's eating it. I did email the nursery where we bought it, and they said, just give it time. So that's what I'm gonna do. I did give it some acid-loving fertilizer. It's mulched. We also have these clay pots that we put in that we fill with water, so it's getting a slow amount of moisture. Anyway, let's go to the plum garden. As you can see, we got some fresh sand going on here, which is not working well. We need more gravel on top of it because it feels like you're walking at the beach when you get out of your car. But we have a solution, which will be in the plum garden. So this is kind of a look of the plum garden from outside. Come in this funky door. Quite a cool door, actually. Has a little window. All right, so I'll just work around. First thing I hate is the gravel path. It does not work for a number of reasons. It starts out okay, but as you can see, it's really too narrow around that circular part. And we can't get a wheelbarrow around it because we have a double front wheel on the wheelbarrow, so it needs at least 30 inches. The other issue is that this center was going to have my dwarf hardy nectarine in the center as a centerpiece, and it got really bad peach leaf curl, so I've moved it up to my deck and potted it, and now we have no centerpiece. So yeah, that's kind of disappointing. Anyway, so starting here, as you can see, it's a very wide bed. Going forward, the bed is going to be from this post to the fence so that we can access it better, because right now it's impossible to keep the weeds out and it just looks awful. We do have some plants that we want to keep. The other issue with this bed is none of the tulips bloomed this year. So I need to refresh the bulbs this year. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do bulbs all along here for the spring. And then I'd love to cover this fence. We have really severe deer issues, which is why we have it fenced in here. And I think what I want to do is grow either winter jasmine or common jasmine to cover that fence. And I think if I plant them 2 feet apart, that should work. Now between this post and this post is the new path. So this is going to be, everything in there is going to be moved over into the garden beds. And it goes up there to, that's the corner. And then it follows, see if I can go under here, down this. That's going to be the new path, sort of between these and those, which means this rose is going to need to be moved. And this rose is a climbing rose, so I have a plan for that. And I'm going to remove that mesh and move this rose over where all those weeds are there, because there's a massive rosemary bush in there that we can't even get to. In the corner we have this beautiful shrub rose. It has little clusters of pink roses, tiny little pink roses. That's going to stay there. And then where I'm standing in this area, so between this and this, that's going to be all garden bed. All of this is garden bed all the way to the end where that one and that one end. So then the path will go up around the corner, and then up where that yellow line is will be the edge of the new path. It goes all the way up, 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 and then it connects back where the door is. And then this middle section here is all garden bed. So all of that, where Rhodo is, all of this, the garden. That's the plan. But we have a lot of stuff to move. Right where we are going to be bringing the path here is my wildflower border. So all of this is going to have to be moved at some point. And then I'm going to be growing clover along here. There's my hydrangea, which is starting to form buds, which is exciting. And all my wildflowers. This was from the Pacific Northwest wildflower seed mix from West Coast Seeds. There's quite a bit in there. Haven't identified everything yet. Oh, and then these plants. That one can probably stay. That is a fuchsia. It has teeny tiny little flowers on it. And I just transplanted all my violas from the planters up on the deck out here. These over here is a bunch of hardy geranium that someone gave us. But going up this way will all be paths, so all of that will have to be cleared. Right now it's mostly plum sucklings, plum suckers. Why do I always say sucklings? Plum suckers and weeds. Now, right here you'll notice there's quite a large plum sucker, and the plan for that one, this guy here, is we're going to put a 7-foot arch that goes between here and there, and it's going to go over. So one side of it will be in front of this plum, the other side will be right here, and we're going to grow climbing roses up this side, and we're going to espalier that plum on the other side. Then, so where I'm walking right now is all going to be garden bed. All of that in there, going up there, this path with clover. The reason why I want to do that there is the soil here is horrific. It's dry, it's crumbly, there's no nutrients in it, nothing wants to grow there. So I think putting down soil and growing clover is going to be really good for it, even if we decide to change this someday. So there you can see the path will go there, garden bed will be there, and then we have a middle one that's going to go there so we can reach the garden bed from both sides. Let's see. Over here, this was our tulip bed, and now it's got irises, and I put wildflower seeds in there. There's a few things that came up. It's actually doing pretty well. And then there's my hellebore patch there. And then we've got a Italian columnar cypress hedge, which is going to create privacy to the stairs. And this is a plum tree. It's my favorite one. This one actually has little plums on it. Let's see if I can zoom in. You see those? I don't know. I've got this on the cinematic setting, so it's kind of weird with the way it focuses on things. So anyway, this tree, I want to graft a branch onto that plum sucker that we're going to espalier on the arch. So you can kind of see where the arch is going to be. So it'll kind of come up here, there. It'll be 7 feet from here to here. And then roses will come out this side, and the plum will come up that side. I don't know if any of that made sense, but this middle section is going to be clover as well, so that we can get to both sides of the beds, because part of the problem in here is the beds are just way too wide and you can't really access anything. So we're gonna fix that, but hopefully you followed that. There's my favorite peach plum tree. This is a yellow plum tree, and then there's a yellow plum sucker, and these trees are at least 25 years old. So that sucker is not from a grafted rootstock. That is the actual clone of a tree, which is kind of cool. Anyway, I thought I would show you what our plan is, and I'll end this with a close-up of some really beautiful roses. Look at these. They are so vibrantly pink, and you're going to be able to see them so much better on the arch. Look at that. So pretty. That actual tour was impossible to follow, which I can understand if it was. Here's a drawing we made of the garden in our plan. So this is the door where you come in, and then there's a path that goes up the center. That's going to be all micro clover. And then this, where it's all X'd out, that's the path that goes all the way around and then comes back and meets back up. And then this is the spot where I was saying there's going to be new bulbs and jasmine put in. And then we've got wisteria and roses. The rosemary we'll be able to access. And we're going to have to fill this whole garden bed and this little triangle piece. And the plan is we're probably going to move this butterfly bush into the center here, and then maybe the daisies, and then put shorter perennials around the edges. So the center will be nice and tall. This is where the arch is going to be. This is where the arch is going to be. Sorry, it's hard because I'm looking through the camera. So the climbing roses will go at this side, and then that's where that plum tree was on the other side, which will espalier to the arch. And then those are the big mossy rocks that you saw. There's our Italian hedge. So basically our house is up here, and that will create a bit of a privacy hedge from our deck. But yeah, there's an overview. Hopefully that makes it a bit clearer. So one last thing that I forgot to mention while we look at an overview from above is that the gravel that's currently in the plum garden will be moved over to our sandy driveway. So that should solve that problem. There you go. Here's an overview of our weirdly shaped, deer fenced pollinator garden.